Hello and welcome to the Necromundown, taking a brief detour into chaos. But not full chaos.
Not chaos helots.
What we're talking about today is how to make your gang, your house gang, just a little chaos by embracing a dark god.
Yeah, not a lot of chaos. Maybe like some tentacles and some chaos spawn and some ritual sacrifice. It's fine.
So, chaos corrupted gangs.
Yes.
It's a mechanic in Necromunda, introduced in the Book of Ruin, I think. Basically, rules as written, this only applies to the basic 6 house gangs. Your Vansar, Orlok, Escher, Kaldor, Goliath, Delok.
Yes.
Just going to say this out the gate. With most other gangs, allowing them to embrace these mechanics would probably not break anything.
Probably be fine.
But talk with your arbitrator. Obviously, corpse grinder cults can't do this because they're already chaos.
Yeah, they're already technically corn.
And chaos helots can't do this because they're already chaos. Right. Maybe leave out venators because things can get weird there.
And outcasts already have...
No, they don't.
Oh, they don't?
No.
I know they have a mutation thing, but it's not necessarily chaos mutation.
Right. There is a mutant outcast gang.
Yeah.
That is from a Necromunda Apocrypha, which we'll talk about.
We will.
That kind of has some of this.
Yeah.
So, technically, and also you probably want to leave out the nomads.
Why?
This wouldn't make a ton of sense with them.
Why?
I don't know.
Anybody can be chaos corrupted.
So, you can either choose to be corrupted at gang creation, or you can choose to corrupt yourself by making a dark ritual post-battle action with your leader.
Yeah. So it does suck because you're getting less to your trading post, but...
Right. Yeah, it's not always a big action. Whether or not you do this at creation or afterwards, your gang is outlaw.
Yep.
You are now an outlaw gang. You cannot be chaos and not be outlaw. That is not a thing. No hiding in plain sight chaos things. I don't really have a mechanic for that.
Nah, unfortunately not.
There's hang-arounds that'll get around that, but there's no way to not be outlaw. So what are the pros of being chaos? Why would you want to go chaos? Besides just flavorful. Because it is a flavor thing.
It is a flavor thing. First of all, one of the things that we complain a whole heck of a lot about is insanity. You become immune to insanity for all purposes.
Yep. You've already seen the deep dark gods. Nothing phases you.
Yep.
You also get access to mutations. Sort of. This is a pro and a con.
It's a little weird.
When you roll on the injury chart, when you're injured, instead of certain things, basically instead of most of the very worst or very best options, you can get a mutation instead of one of those options.
Yes.
Mutations, unlike Vansar Bionics, have ups and downsides.
Right.
And if you get too many of them, you turn into a chaos spawn.
Sounds fine.
But some of them are flat better than just getting the negative that normal critical injury would give you.
Yeah. So it is very back and forth in whether it's positive or negative, but it's generally just cool.
Yeah. The Chaos Mutations chart does need a little FAQ update with the new core rules, because core rules as written, if you roll Convalescence, you get a mutation, which you probably shouldn't. If you roll Captured, you get a mutation, which you almost definitely shouldn't.
I argued that the stress of being captured caused a mutation.
If stress caused mutations, nobody in the Underhive would have less than 6 arms.
Yeah, fair.
Either way, you probably want to check that with your arbitrator. You get access to Chaos Spawn.
Yes. It should be noted that you cannot flat hire a Chaos Spawn.
No.
Because they would be busted.
Chaos Spawn can be very, very good.
Can be very strong. They have, like, randomized stats.
Yes. We'll talk a little bit more about them.
We will. And they basically, on a Dark Ritual or in mutations, you can turn into a Chaos Spawn.
Right. And then finally, you get God Favors. Yeah. So if you are a corrupted gang, like a normal gang that's been corrupted, you only get to pick one god.
Yeah.
Helots can pray to all the gods, and Khorne doesn't actually have this mechanic. Some people house rule that CGC should have access to this mechanic.
Yeah.
CGC does not need more stuff.
No.
They've got their own things. They don't also need Chaos Spawn and all this stuff.
Yeah, that would be a little...
They have their own particular way of worshiping Khorne that does not involve this.
No, we should let me have Chaos Spawn in the next campaign.
No.
And immune to insanity. I'm already immune to insanity.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah. Now, some cons. You're an outlaw.
Yep. That's not a huge con.
No.
But it is there.
Chaos Spawn, when you get one, they replaced your fighters.
Yeah.
Which is an upside if it's a fighter you didn't care about, and a downside if it was a champion you did.
Because every way to get a Chaos Spawn is random.
Yes. That's the other thing, is you can also just go an entire campaign without getting one.
Yeah.
And then finally, mutations have downsides, and if you get a number of mutations equal to your toughness, which for most of your fighters is 3, you just become a Chaos Spawn.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, that is better the higher your toughness is. So, like, for example, Goliath would have a harder time becoming a Chaos Spawn.
Right.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No. So the Dark Ritual we talked about.
Yes.
This is if you choose not to be a Chaos Gang at start.
You can also do it if you are a Chaos Gang at the end of any battle.
Yes. So your leader makes a lead ritual post-battle action. Once per post-battle sequence, of course. You decide which of the Chaos Gods you want to pray to. Nurgle, Khorne, Slaanesh, or Tzeentch.
And again, once you pick one, you're stuck with that one if you're a Chaos Corrupted Gang.
Right. A random fighter who is not your leader. So anyone not your leader, but any other fighter, including your champions,
specialist, anybody else,
is the focus of the ritual, and they get to be offered up as the vessel of the power. Then you roll 2d6. Or you can also use a captive.
Yeah.
If you captured one.
There are upsides and downsides to using a captive. Mainly, we'll get into the positive negatives of it and why it's good about a captive.
Yes.
So you get some bonuses and negatives depending on what happened in the game you just played. You get +2 if you're praising a god you already prayed to, which you have to unless it's your first time.
Right, unless it's your first time.
You get +2 if you're sacrificing a captive, but again, there's positives and negatives. That's one of the positives.
Yep.
If you won, you get +1 to the roll.
If you won, because this is a post-battle action.
Yep.
So if you won that battle, you get +1.
If you got a reputation in that battle, you get another +1 because the Chaos Gods look upon you favorably. Alternatively, if you lost a reputation, you get -1. If you lost the battle, you get another -1. And if you change the Chaos God, which you can't do in this, but you could do as a Chaos Helots, you get another -2. So that actually doesn't come into play here, but it is on the list.
Right. If you succeed, what roll do you need for success?
9 or more.
9 or more.
After modifiers, 9 or more.
So if you are praising, this is your first one, if you're sacrificing a captive and you won, you get +2 to your roll. You also got rep, you got +4 to your roll. So you only need a 5.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. If this is a post-battle ritual that you already have the favor for, then you only need a natural 7. So statistically, you're going to get it.
Not bad.
If you succeeded, the gang is heeded by the cult's patron. Yay. After any existing favor is replaced.
So yeah, if you already had a Chaos God favor, you get a new one.
Yep. If a fighter was the focus of the ritual, that fighter gets D6 XP.
And that's the negative of having a captive sacrificed.
One of two negatives.
One of two negatives. Because if you sacrifice a captive, you don't have a focus of the ritual. So
and no, he does not get D6 XP.
Yeah. So you don't get the bonus XP. You just you praise the Chaos Gods, woohoo.
Yeah.
And then there's the failure.
So 2 or less before or after modifiers. So if you roll a natural 2, no matter what your modifiers are, you fail.
Yep.
You said the wrong words.
You said your ex's name instead of your girlfriend's.
Oh no! You called out Khorne. You meant to say Slaanesh. Or if you roll a 4, but you had -2 because you lost the reputation, or you lost the battle, or you're trying to praise a different god, the cult is deemed unworthy. You lose your favor.
Yep.
We'll talk about what the favors are here in a second. If the fighter was picked to be the focus of the ritual, they are immediately turned into a chaos spawn. Any equipment they have is lost, by the way.
Yeah. It like morphs into them. Doesn't just like fall off of them.
The spawn is added for free, but the cost still does affect your gang rating.
It does.
So, and now Chaos Spawn, we'll talk about them at the end because they're kind of a little weird in a lot of ways. But Chaos Spawn can be or really good.
Yeah. Again, randomized stats.
If you use a captive, there's no way you're getting a Chaos Spawn.
Yeah. That is the other downside.
Now, in theory, because you choose to make this as a post-battle action, if you wanted to, you could try and rig it so you get Chaos Spawn.
Yes.
You could go, all right, I lost the battle, and I lost a reputation, and I'm going to pick a different god, so I get -4 to my roll.
Yes.
As long as I roll a 6 or less, I'm going to get a Chaos Spawn.
But the guy that changes into a Chaos Spawn is random.
Right.
So again, it could be your champion with a heavy bolter.
Right. And you decide to make the ritual before you decide you roll randomly to see who's gotten it.
Yep.
So you can't decide to make the ritual oh no, my champion got picked. Never mind, I'm going to do it. No, once you're in, you're in.
We're going to back out.
So when it talks about favors, basically there's favors for each god. Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, and Tzeentch. And they vary in effective. You get a once per round effect. You get a Chaos Spawn effect.
Yeah, which is usually just a bonus stat.
And you get a leader effect. And you get all these. You don't have to keep praying.
So, for example, if you are Khorne, your once per round effect is you get to reroll a wound roll on anyone in your gang once per round.
A failed wound roll.
A failed wound roll.
So no fishing for shock.
True.
No fishing for rending or whatever.
But rerolling is insanely rare in this game, especially to wound.
That's one of the few wound rerolls in this game.
Yeah. So that is very, very strong.
And even though it's Khorne, you'd think he would only like it in melee. Nope.
Anyway you like it, let the blood flow.
This works on a las cannon.
It does. Your Chaos Spawns get +1 strength, and your leader gets +1 attack.
Which is worth 12 experience points, by the way.
Yeah. It's one of the higher costs for experience
Attacks and wounds are 12 experience points.
Yep. So Khorne likes to get in and likes to hit people real hard.
Yeah.
You know what? Color me surprised.
Slaanesh is a little less good. Activate 2 fighters instead of one. So when you activate a fighter, you can once per round activate another fighter.
Yeah.
It's basically group activation, but it can be across the entire board.
Right.
Which can be situationally very good.
Yes, it is very tactically strong.
Yes.
It's not just like pure stat strong like the other one.
Your Chaos Spawn, when you move, instead of having a base move, rolls 2d6 and picks the highest when moving.
Which is interesting.
So you could roll Snake Eyes and move 1 inch. Or you can move 6 inches, which is still not
fantastic. I mean, 6 inches is good in Necromunda, where the base speed is 5.
Yeah. And then your leader gets +2 movement, which if your leader's a melee model
is very good,
or even a shooting model, +2 is amazing.
Yeah.
So Slaanesh is a little more tactical.
Yeah. Nurgle is the tough boys. Your once per round is you get to reroll a recovery roll, which is, again, you don't get to reroll very often. Recovery roll's not as good as a wound roll.
No, it's not.
You also get to manipulate it a little bit more.
Yeah, there's ways to do that, but you can just reroll that skull.
Yeah, reroll the skull, which is insane.
And it's once per round, which is really good.
Yeah. Your Chaos Spawns get +1 toughness,
which is very good.
Which is very strong. And your leader gets +1 wound,
which is very good.
Which is also a 12 experience upgrade.
Would you like to have an Orlock leader with 4 wounds? Have I got the gang for you?
Yeah. So Nurgle, tough boys, stay on the board. Again,
usable for anyone, really.
Yeah.
Whereas Khorne kind of leans into more of that melee.
Yeah,
obviously.
pure offensive.
But Nurgle is anyone can pick Nurgle.
Yeah.
So anyone can pick Slaanesh too, but it's a little more tactical.
Yeah.
And then you get Tzeentch. So Tzeentch, once per round, you can ignore all negative to hit modifiers for a shoot, basic or double. So whether it's unwieldy with suspensors or not. Basically, ignore all hit modifiers, all negative hit modifiers.
Yes.
Not all positives, just all negatives.
So if you have negative at your range band, that you can ignore that. Cover, Cameline Cloak, anything that's a negative, you just ignore it.
Great for shooting gangs.
Yeah, fantastic.
You also, your spawn gets a 4-up save.
Which is,
because normally he doesn't have one at all.
Yep.
And your leader gets 1 random weird power.
That's bad.
It's from the Possessed Hiver or Ghast table, which the Ghast table has been updated to use the new. We've talked about this in our Psyker.
Yeah, in our Psyker video.
It's the greatest hits of Psyker. Some of them are fine. You might get a sale, which is bad.
Yep.
But some of them are good.
Yeah, the fact that it's random and it has to be on the Ghast table. That being said, I did take this at one point because I'm stupid. But I think Tzeentch is probably the weakest one.
Maybe, but ignoring all hit modifiers.
Ignoring all hit modifiers is very strong.
You can just choose not to use that weird power.
True. You just never cast it.
You don't have to use it.
Ignoring all hit modifiers is very strong for it. I've seen people do Overseer, Overwatch, Tzeentch, Vansar, and you just nuke stuff off the board.
It's dumb.
It is.
All right, let's talk about Chaos Spawn.
Yes.
Spawn. So Chaos Spawn are worth 130 credits. You cannot buy them.
Correct.
But if one is added to your gang, the other guy dies and he's replaced with a 130 credits Chaos Spawn. He doesn't get any of his skills or war gear.
Yeah, he is effectively a new model, but not really. Right. Really, but not really.
Now, one thing that does make Slaanesh more attractive.
One thing that makes Slaanesh more attractive, you say?
One thing that makes Slaanesh more attractive is that Chaos Spawn, by default, have D6-inch random movement.
Yeah.
So roll 2, pick the highest, is a lot better than roll 1 and pick what you get.
Yeah, oh, no, well, I rolled a 2. I guess he's speed 2.
That alone makes Chaos Spawn really kind of like... But, for 130 credits, all of your stuff is random. Mm-hmm. They always pass cool and leadership checks. Sorry, cool or willpower checks. Yes. So they never bottle.
Yep.
And they're immune to anything that keys off of willpower.
Basically, if it's passive, if it's like, man, I'm so cool, or dang, I don't give a crap about that psychic power, they pass it.
But they automatically fail all leadership or intelligence checks.
Yeah, so if you go to put their brain to the test, it's done.
So Chaos Spawn, they can get one of you randomly determine, because you roll a d6 for every single stat.
Yeah.
You roll a d6 for weapon skill, not ballistic skill. You don't have a gun.
Yeah.
You roll a d6 for strength. You roll a d6 for toughness, a d6 for wounds, a d6 for initiative, a d6 for attacks. And then you auto pass cool and willpower, auto fail leadership and intelligence. Yep. So on a 1 of d6, now here's the thing. You roll a separate d6 for each of these.
Yes.
You don't roll 1d6 and get... because
the whole stat line.
In the book, it looks like it's a whole stat line. Yep. It's not like that. So
good, because that would be terrible.
Yes. You can get anything from a 5-up weapon skill to a 3-up weapon skill. Most of them are going to be 4. Mm-hmm. You can get anything from a 3-up toughness to a 5 toughness. Most of them are going to be 4, which is not bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, 3-up to 5-up strength.
Yes.
Toughness starts at 4 and can go up to 6.
That's pretty good.
Which is pretty good. Wounds starts at 1, goes up to 3. Mm-hmm. Initiative starts at 5 and goes up to 3. And attack starts at 1 and goes up to 3.
Yes.
So any combination.
As long as you don't roll 1s across the board, it's going to be decent stats-wise.
Yeah, maybe. Like,
I think it's going to be decent stats. Like, the 2 through 5, okay, except for weapon skill. The 2 through 5, I think all of those stats are fine.
5-up weapon skill is really bad.
5-up weapon skill. No. The 4-up weapon skill. Like,
okay.
If you roll 2 through 5,
yeah,
those are all, like, if I had that stat line, I would be okay with it.
They can never get experience, by the way, and they never level up.
That upsets me a bit. I wish
it's
they
a
could.
Chaos Spawn. It's never going to learn from its mistakes.
You know what? Yeah.
That's not how that works.
You got me there.
They do come with the skill Clamber, which means they climb for free.
Yeah, they climb stuff. They got so many arms.
They don't have any attacks or weapons. They just have unarmed attacks. So at best, a strength 5 unarmed attack. 3 of them, which is not the worst. Now, here's where other things get a little weird. Chaos Spawn can only make certain mechanics.
Yes.
And the list of mechanics they can make is much shorter than the ones they cannot.
Yes.
They can only move, charge, fight, or coup de grace. That's it.
They can't do anything else.
They can never do anything else. No opening doors.
Can't kick a door down, can't open a box, can't...
no objectives, no helping someone recover.
Yeah, can't go into cover, like they can't dive.
Right.
For reasons.
In fact, they can never be pinned.
Yep.
In any way, shape, or form. We'll talk about that at the end.
Yeah.
They can also never be seriously injured. You just ignore that.
And also can't ever be flesh wounded.
You just
ignore that.
Ignore that.
If you don't roll a skull to damage it, you did nothing.
Nothing happens. They don't ever get lasting injuries. They don't ever go insane or get broken. They can never get weapons or equipment, and they never get experience or advancements. So, obviously, the real power here is the fact that you ignore completely all flesh wounds and seriously injured.
Yep. That Chaos Spawn is coming for you.
Yes.
And unless you kill it, it's getting to you.
And it can't be pinned.
Can't be pinned.
And so basically you need to get wounds through and deal a skull, or nothing happened.
Yep.
Now you can still knock it back.
Yeah. And when your toughness starts at 4, I mean...
Now, there is a little bit of weirdness here, because there is a certain keyword in Necromunda, Graviton Pulse.
Yep.
Gravitron Pulse? I can never remember what's that second R.
I think it's Graviton.
Anyway, the gravity guns.
Yeah.
They have the rule which says that when they hit somebody, that target is automatically pinned, regardless of all other rules.
Yep.
So that one supersedes this one because it even says...
regardless of other rules.
But, rules as written, a Chaos Spawn can never take the stand-up action.
So if you pin it with Graviton, It's just it's a turtle on its back.
Which is dumb.
It's laying on the ground forever. I know.
Obviously, the solution for this is not that it can't be pinned by Gravitron, because that's like the one counter to these things.
Yeah.
But it should just be, you can take the stand-up action.
Yeah.
Like, it's a chaos. The idea that Chaos Spawn would not be able to stand up is an oversight.
So the whole reason it doesn't list it is because normally they wouldn't have to take it. But with Graviton, you have to take it.
You might also consider saying that even a Graviton can't pin one of these things.
Yeah.
I personally think that a Graviton, because it's not... Pinning is normally a mechanic for, like, I'm being shot, I'm getting down.
Yeah.
It's not actually getting knocked over.
Right.
Graviton is a physical gravity field.
That forces you to the ground.
Right. It should not care about your willpower or your chaosness or your insanity.
How cool you are.
Right. It's just, no, move. So I think that you should be able to pin them with Graviton only.
Yeah.
But...
They can stand up.
I also personally think you should be able to pin them if you hit them with a truck.
I don't know.
If it's moving at least 8 inches and is at least toughness 8.
Too many stipulations. Can't be pinned.
I think if you hit...
You hit a Chaos Spawn with a truck and you just point.
Yeah.
You just full standing.
I think hitting these with a truck should be like hitting the Graboids with a truck in Tremors. What was it, 2? I don't know.
No, he's fine.
So you got to keep that in mind.
Yep.
Chaos Spawn are good.
Chaos Spawn are good.
Chaos Spawn are really terrifying.
D6.
Here's the other problem. After a battle that has featured this Chaos Spawn, nominate, not random, 3 gangers that are not out of action or seriously injured, and roll a d6 for each nominated ganger. You need 1 4-up. On 1 4-up, the Chaos Spawn is restrained. Otherwise, it scurries away and is gone.
Yep.
Removed from the gang. Just gone. This happens every gang you use it in.
Yep.
If a dice scores a 1, the ganger gets a lasting injury from the spawn, trying to contain it. So basically, it's like trying to restrain this thing.
Yeah.
After every single battle. If nobody rolls a 4-up, it just leaves.
It just leaves. You lose a 130-point model. Whatever he transformed from, gone.
Right. That's the big one.
Yeah. I would... You just know the first time I roll for a Chaos Spawn, I'm going to roll triple 1s.
Yeah.
It's like everybody gets an injury and he's gone.
Peace out.
Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. That's what Chaos is all about.
Right. So that is the big downside of Chaos Spawn.
Yeah.
So no, you're not stacking your roster with these guys.
Oh, God.
Because usually they're not going to stick around for more than a few games before, and eventually the dice will turn against you.
It's what? 50% chance times 3. So that's 75, 80 something.
You have a good chance to roll at least 1 4-up on 3 dice.
But you could.
But we've all rolled saves of at least 3 4-up and vulnerable saves,
Yeah,
and missed 3 of them. We've all been there, right?
Yep, it happens. It's a dice game.
So, yeah. Your Chaos Spawn is very powerful and probably temporary.
Yep.
But don't worry, you should just make another one. Last bit is the mutations. So this is the thing that replaces your lasting injuries.
Yeah, it's really strange. So previously there was a list of things that the mutations did not affect.
Right.
Lesson learned.
It was previously, if you get a lasting injury of any kind, so you roll, you ignore lesson learned, out cold, grievous injury, critical injury, or memorable death.
Yes.
The problem is that the table's changed. Grievous injury is no longer a thing.
Grievous injury isn't on there. There's way more options than those.
Right.
Basically what it was previously, before the new book, it was if you took a lasting injury that reduced one of your stats, you had a chance to get a chaos.
Right.
I almost had a Chaos Spawn. You had a chance to get a mutation.
And you should probably still play it that way.
I agree.
We suggest that you don't have convalescence as a chance for a mutation.
Yeah. Your guy gets a little flustered and he,
But maybe you want to play it that way. It depends on how heavy you want to lean into the mutations.
True.
Talk with your arbitrator. We also suggest you ignore captured, because I think it's silly.
Instead of being captured, I have a mutation now.
Yeah, like, it's more the fact that it ignores captured.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to play it that you got captured so you get a mutation and you're captured, that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fun.
Just like hands behind my back grows a third hand.
So you roll a d6 and then you add some modifiers. If the lasting injury was inflicted by any chaos corrupted gang or any kind of chaos gang, you add +1, because
That's interesting.
it's very thematic.
It is.
Remember, 40k revolves around the fact that Horus was evil because he got stabbed by an evil knife, and that's the only reason he was evil, according to Black Library.
Your mileage may vary.
Add +1 if the lasting injury was sustained by a demon or demonically possessed fighter.
Which I think there's like 2 things in the whole, scenarios in the entire game.
Anytime anyone rolls a weird power.
Would that count as being
Double
demonically
six.
possessed?
Double six says you are possessed by a demon.
Oh, well, there you go.
So if someone rolls double sixes and gets possessed by a demon, then flattens your butt, you can get a
chaos.
And then add one if the fighter
mutation.
already has at least one other mutation.
That is more likely.
Yes.
Than either of the other two.
The result has to be a 6 or more. Mm-hmm. So this doesn't happen that often at first.
Yeah.
Unless you're fighting corpse grinder cults.
Yeah, true. Then it goes to a 5.
Right. Roll the lasting injury becomes a mutation. Do not apply the effects of the lasting injury. Mm-hmm. Ignore them. And the same mutation can never be gained more than once. If you get a duplicate, you choose another one.
Ooh. I like choosing my mutations. That sounds fine.
As we said, if your number of mutations ever equals your toughness, you're a chaos one now. Mm-hmm. And you're removed from the roster.
Yeah.
Unless you're one of these chaos corrupted gangs. Mm-hmm. So this is written like it could apply to anybody.
Yeah.
Which you might consider playing that in like a
sure.
ruin campaign. But the reality is that it only applies to the mutation things only apply to chaosy gangs. The mutations, they have bonuses and downsides. Mm-hmm. So instead of humiliated, which is the -1 cool, you can get hungering pride. The fighter must activate before any other fighter in their crew.
Which is, can be fine, can be bad.
But you get an additional experience point if you take an enemy leader or champion out of action.
Okay. So it's like, interesting. Leader or champion.
Instead of head injury, which is -1 intelligence, mm-hmm. you can get dark madness. Fighter must make an intelligence check before when they activate. If they failed, D6 to determine their first action. On a 1 or 2 move, 3 or 4 shoot or fight, and 5 or 6 nothing happens.
On their first action.
Yeah.
You better have a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that one's just bad, huh?
Yeah.
That one's just bad.
That one's just bad. Eye injury. Bestial senses. The fighter cannot be included as part of a group activation, nor can they initiate one. The fighter counts as always being equipped with a bioscanner, which is the one that makes it easier to detect people in sentry mode. It's not good.
Yeah, that one's also... It's technically not just a downside.
But an eye injury is, what, -1 to hit?
-1 to hit at range, yeah. -1.
This is better than getting a -1 to hit for a shooting champion. Hand injury, which is normally -1 weapon skill. Mm-hmm. You get disturbing appendage. Always counts as being equipped as a fighting knife, which can never be disarmed.
Nice.
With using weapons with the unwieldy trait, you get a -1 modifier to their weapons or ballistic skill. Because your arm the tentacle doesn't hold the gun as well.
I love that. I love that. So all of these are like, if you would be humiliated, you instead have pride. Mm-hmm. If you get a head injury, you get madness. That one actually doesn't make sense. But like all of them are the opposite of what you would normally get, which is kind of great.
Hobbled. So that's the -1 movement. Yep. You get warped limbs. Reduce the fighter's move characteristic by 1. Which is the same as hobbled. When the fighter makes a charge action, roll 3d3 and choose the highest. So this one's just flat better.
Yeah. It is. So you get the same downside, but you charge better.
Yes.
3d3?
And pick the highest.
I mean, yeah. But like...
So a good chance of getting your 3-inch charge.
That's pretty sweet.
Spinal, which is normally -1 toughness. Mm-hmm. Or no, spinal is -1 strength.
Yes.
The next one's -1 toughness. Injury, crooked body. Range attacks made against the fighter suffer a -1 to hit while within the attacking fighter's long range.
What?
Because you're crooked, so you're bent over more, so you're hard to hit at long range.
That's
the fighter
so
cannot wear armor of any kind.
Oh, because it doesn't fit.
That's bad.
That's real. You have -1 to be hit only at long range, but you can't wear any armor ever.
Yeah. Enfeebled, which is normally -1 toughness. Twisted flesh. When the fighter activates, they may remove 1 flesh wound. The fighter cannot benefit from bio boosters, Medicaid kits, or assistance when making recovery tests.
I would do that. Can I put that on all my guys?
Yeah, it's like, if you're only getting flesh wounded, this is better.
Yeah.
If you do get severely injured, uh-oh.
Well, now that severely injured also gives you a flesh wound.
Yes.
When you take more than 1.
Yes. And you could, like, every time you recover and you roll a severely injured and you get another flesh wound, next time you activate, you can just pull the flesh wound.
Yeah.
So in theory, you'll never bleed out.
That's true.
Unless someone comes over and steps on you.
Yeah, I'm going to ask if I could just put this on my whole crew. I'll take it.
No.
Can't ever help each other out. They're very selfish.
This is why we have 3 arbitrators, so you can't do this. Bleep.
But I want to do the bleep.
So obviously these range from flat better to no.
I'll take the -1. It's fine.
No. Yeah, like disturbing appendage kind of sucks if you're a shooter.
Yeah.
It's worse than hand injury would be if you're a shooter, because normally hand injury just makes your weapon skill worse. Which if you're a shooter, you're like, whatever. But this one also makes your ballistic skill worse.
Yeah.
For unwieldy weapons, I guess, which is not bad. But it's a cool mechanic.
It is. I like the mechanic. I like the variation and flavor behind it. And it's just like an extra thing where it's like, hey, this guy's, got a 3rd arm now. That's always a knife.
Yeah. What does he got? A knife. A knife. So overall, this isn't something you necessarily do to increase the power of your gang.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have enough downsides that you couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's not just straight upside.
Right.
But the downsides are pretty minimal.
Pretty minimal. And getting +1 attack or +1 wound on your leader is pretty good. Really good, actually. But this is something you do more for flavor.
Yes, I agree.
And in that regard, I think it works very well. It works a lot better than the Chaos Helot gangs themselves, which is why we did this first.
Yes.
Because we are of the opinion that if you want to play Chaos in Necromunda, it is far better to play another gang and chaosify them than it is to try and play Chaos Helots, because they have all these rules, and yet they are applied worse.
Yeah, somehow.
Which kind of sucks.
It does.
So if you're wondering why we did Chaos Corrupted gangs before we did Chaos Helot gangs, that's why.
Yeah.
Because these rules work pretty well. There's some weird whoopsies here, but overall, it's a light addition to your gang of them starting down the journey to chaos, but not being too far into it. And I like them.
Yeah, you're not again full on blood sacrifice, like ripping people apart and eating their flesh.
Right. You want to do that? You play corpse grinder cults.
Yes. We're not doing that yet, but we are participating in some light ritual sacrifice, just on the weekends.
Just something to do, Little bit of the old ultra violence.
Sometimes you get bored on Necromunda and you gotta rip people in half and grow a 3rd limb.
We've all been there.
I know I've been there.
Alrighty. Any closing thoughts? Or
no, I just like I said, love the flavor. I love the customization. I'm always there for customization. And I like it.
My next gang might be a group of Nurgle corrupted gnomes.
Yeah, unfortunately
just to ruin Mitchell's day.
Yeah, just to ruin everything that I've ever loved.
Chaos. That's it from us this week. Thanks for tuning in to Necromundown. We'll be back next week with another one of these. Not quite sure which yet. Might be the other side of the corruption coin. Fewer tentacles, more chitin and stabbing.
Claws.
Until then.
Bye.